let's just set the scene in California because we're told vote blue no matter who, all that junk. If we just get more Democrats in office federally, we'll be able to do a lot more. Correct me if I'm wrong, but California has had like pretty sizable majorities of Democrats for quite some time. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's indisputably true. This is a one-party rule state. It's all Democrats practically. But within the Democratic Party, there's a variance of belief systems. So we have the corporate Democrats and then we have the progressive Democrats, and they do have markedly different viewpoints. And I would say Newsom, more often than not, appeals to the wealthy elites in the state versus the working class individuals. And a part of that obviously is going to roll into the area of oil wells and fracking and all of these other things.
Right. Because I remember when, Trump was president and that little sit down roundtable, Trump was there when the wildfires was happening, and right. Newsom kind of challenged Trump because Trump was pushing the right wing bullshit that it's really a forest management problem. That's why we're having all this stuff. Yeah. And Newsom, to Newsom's credit, he was pushing back that this is not, this is a climate induced thing. But yeah. I don't know. I've never seen federally any nationally in terms of the media, any investigation into Gavin Newsom's role in all of this. He's been governor for a few years. Yeah. And as far as I could tell, he's been handing out drilling permits in basically the ground zero state for climate change. It's you in Florida. Yeah. Just very, very steadily. I mean, Colin, if you have that map that Tina sent of Well Watch.
Yeah, Watch.
Yeah, if you zoom into that, so all those blue ones, correct me if I'm wrong, Tina, are Newsom. And for Newsom.
Well, a lot of them are. So I think you have to go look at the expanse of his entire reign here that he's been in office. So in 2020, like this year, people are now saying that Newsom has pulled back the amount of permits that he is handing out, which is true. We are actually down 73% this year to date compared to last year. However, here's the important however. 2020, the year 2020 saw an absolute doubling in permits that he handed out. So you're comparing that 73% decrease to a prior year where they had been doubled under his administration. So, it's just some data.
And also, he was being recalled.
I think that's really important.
A lot of criticism about this. So
that's right.
Maybe, yeah.
I think the recall had everything to do with that 73% drop because, and I spoke with some of the people that were working on the No on Recall Newsom campaign, and they told me that when they were making calls, they were hearing from progressives in the state that they weren't going to lift a finger either way because they were very displeased with the way Newsom had handled not only fracking and oil permits, but other things as well. He had made a lot of progressive promises that he simply hadn't fulfilled. So there was a lack of enthusiasm for getting behind that. I think ultimately the reason he prevailed was because the list of candidates that were running against him was just absolutely atrocious. There was nobody even remotely, even like slightly remotely better than what you would have for Newsom. So Newsom was clearly by and large a better pick. But having said that, I do think he was afraid. And I think the reason that we saw that drop is because he knew that that was an issue and it has been an ongoing issue in the state. And it's surprising to me that this doesn't get more attention in national media, especially this week. We have this massive oil spill going on in Huntington Beach, which is affecting, 6 miles of the coastline there. You have a company called Amplify Energy, a private company based out of Houston, Texas, that's now being criminally investigated by the Orange County District Attorney because one of the things is that they failed to shut off the pipeline and they failed to alert the Coast Guard for over 8 hours. So they knew that it was leaking and they let it leak. So that's one of many things. You have local businesses that are now filing a class action lawsuit against Amplify Energy because obviously they are losing business. Everything's closed.
Are you saying fossil fuel companies do not report when they spill? Yeah. Is that what you're saying?
That's pretty much what I'm saying. Yeah. Over 8 hours. So you could imagine if they had turned off that pipeline immediately when they sensed there was a problem, we would not have had that many, obviously that many gallons spill into the coastline. So it's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster, and it could have been handled much differently. And I'm glad to see even District Attorney Todd Spitzer is very much a right-wing Republican. He is very hard right as far as I'm concerned. So the fact that he is actually allowing this investigation to occur was a little bit surprising for me, but it's necessary. Somebody needs to start checking these guys. They're out of control.
What's amazing to me is, Newsom, California is really ground zero for like the National Democratic Party donor base.
Yeah.
It's Silicon Valley and the real estate goons and a lot of the hedge funders and old money. Specifically in San Francisco, I give you Nancy Pelosi. So a lot of Gavin Newsom's base, shall I say, which isn't really the people per se, but the donors, they're kind of, this is not just California, everywhere. They're kind of spewing two sides out of their mouth. Because on one end, they're environmentalists, but on the other end, they're massively invested in a lot of these companies, either directly through investments in the companies or through their Wall Street investments.
That's right.
Because Wall Street's invested in all this. So it seems with Newsom and Kamala Harris when she was there, you get a lot of woke language about the climate catastrophe, but then kind of
doesn't match the actions.
No acknowledgement when it's the wildfires are going on worse every year, drought. Yeah, that has nothing to do with all of the fracking and drilling you're allowing to go.
That's right. So, as of October 1st, 2021, there is 150 permits that have been issued since January 1st, 2019. So, within that two-year period, 5 are for new wells. And 145 are for reworking existing wells. And that might sound superficially a good thing that they're reworking them. Maybe they're repairing them, what have you, but that's generally not what's happening here. These are deepening operations, meaning they're going to drill deeper. So, he's approved almost 10,000 permits total since he's taken office. We are right there at the edge there. I think it's 9728 is the actual number. So that's a lot. For a state that's supposed to be environmentally friendly, that's a lot of permits. And you had Newsom, having a press conference in Huntington Beach where he was talking, as you were saying, where he was talking about how, California is leading the cause for climate change, blah, blah, blah. But I don't see that happening.
And I want to ask you also, because, it just kind of seems bizarre. Like, Biden, all these Democrats nationally. I don't really think Biden gives a shit, to be honest, about most of these things. It's Bernie's agenda.
Oh, yeah. Bernie's definitely driving that. Yeah.
Right. Biden just wants to kind of like make deals and, once they're whittled down to the bone, act like they're historic. But I don't know. Biden has talked pretty concretely about getting 80, down carbon emissions by like 80% or something like that by 2030. Well, how are you going to do that if these states like California, which are supposedly want the same thing, are handing out drilling permits everywhere because you also have earthquakes in California.
That's right. So fracking is,
I'm not a geologist per se. I think I got a D in earth science. But if you're fracking the hell out of California, plus all the earthquakes, plus massive drought, I would think the earth might move a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's not. Definitely, there is a connection between fracking and earthquakes. So that's another aspect of the conversation. I will say locally, we are seeing action on this. So the Los Angeles Board of Supervisors, for example, has now passed 2 different motions where they're going to look to phase out oil production in the county. So that's good. You have Culver City, which is sort of around where LAX's Inglewood area, separate little city there. They have also decided that they want to clean up the Inglewood oil field and stop drilling there by, I think the date they gave was 2026. So locally, you do have some action happening, and maybe that's where where activists should be focusing their attention, because it seems the only way we ever get anything done is at the local level, and maybe, causing pressure to get to the state. But there is some change happening, thank God, because this can't continue. And honestly, this idea of 2030, I feel like that ship sailed. 2030 is too late. We're living right now in a time where we're already feeling the implications of climate change. I don't think that's a controversial statement, right? And it's wild because you can go back and listen to some of even the speeches that Al Gore gave back in the 90s, where he gave 2020 as a date of the point of no return, so to speak. And here we are. All of those things that we were warned about happening are definitely happening. And I think they're happening at a faster pace as things, sort of like that. So it ratchets up, like it's exponentially increasing, as things progress. So I think we're in a very dangerous position. And that Huntington Beach oil, that the crack in the pipe they're saying was only 13 inches. Think about that. That's the size of a ruler, and look how much damage that did.